Why you should keep your old car forever and the true cost of new tech is a conversation I find myself having almost every single day lately. Whether I am standing in a customer's driveway with grease up to my elbows or sitting in a high-end dealership office looking at a trade-in sheet, the reality is the same. We are living in an era where the shiny, screen-filled dashboard of a brand-new vehicle is often a Trojan horse for financial and mechanical headaches that most people just aren't prepared for. This episode is designed for you to listen to while you drive, work, take care of your day, or relax. Enjoy it, however fits your life. I remember a guy named Mike who called me out to look at his 2024 luxury SUV because the infotainment screen had gone completely black. Mike was frantic because, in that car, the screen controlled everything. He couldn't adjust his mirrors, he couldn't change the temperature, and he couldn't even see his speedometer. I had to tell him that as a mobile mechanic, there was nothing I could do in his driveway. That unit was a proprietary computer module that required a dealership-level software flash and likely a $3,000 hardware replacement. Mike looked at his beautiful, leather-wrapped paperweight and then looked over at his neighbor's old '98 Toyota Camry. That Camry was faded and had a manual crank window, but it started every single morning and cost about $50 a year in oil changes. That moment really highlighted the massive shift we have seen in advanced automotive diagnostics and mechanical reliability. When you keep an older vehicle, you are opting out of a cycle of planned obsolescence. New tech is designed to be replaced, not repaired. In the old days, if your radio broke, you went to a shop, they pulled it out, and you put a new one in for a couple $100. Today, that radio is the brain of the car. If it fails, the car is effectively sidelined. I have spent years in the bays and on the road, and I have seen the powertrain analysis on these newer, small-displacement turbocharged engines. They are pushing these tiny motors to the absolute limit to meet fuel economy standards, but they are doing it at the expense of long-term durability. I once worked with a lady named Sarah, who traded in a perfectly good, paid-off Honda Accord for a new crossover with a CVT transmission and a tiny turbo engine. Within 2 years, the turbo seals failed, and the transmission started hunting for gears. She was still making a $600 monthly payment on a car that was already failing her. That is the hidden ownership cost analysis that people forget to do. They see the low gas mileage and the pretty lights, but they don't see the $5,000 repair bill waiting at the 60,000-mile mark. Keeping your old car isn't just about being cheap. It is about being smart. It is about maintaining a machine that you actually understand and control. When you own an older vehicle, you are the master of its maintenance strategy. You aren't at the mercy of a dealership's proprietary software or a subscription service just to use your heated seats. I have seen people get scammed by the allure of the new car smell, only to find themselves trapped in a subprime loan with an interest rate that makes my skin crawl. They trade a reliable old friend for a high-tech nightmare. I once saw a young couple at an auction trying to offload a 2-year-old truck because the electrical gremlins were so bad the headlights would just turn off while they were driving at night. The dealership couldn't find the fault, and the lemon law process was a nightmare. They ended up taking a $10,000 hit just to get out of it. That is the reality of the cost of new tech. It is not just the sticker price, it is the loss of peace of mind. When you have an older car with a proven engine performance evaluation, you know what you have. You know that if the alternator goes, you can fix it for a reasonable price. You aren't worried about a sensor in the bumper costing $2,000 to recalibrate after a minor tap in a parking lot. This is about long-term vehicle reliability and keeping your hard-earned money in your pocket instead of handing it over to a finance company for a gadget on wheels. The technical automotive knowledge required to keep a modern car on the road is becoming so specialized that the independent mechanic is being priced out of the market. This is a deliberate move by manufacturers to ensure that you are tethered to their service departments forever. When we talk about why you should keep your old car forever, we are talking about freedom. I remember working at a dealership where we had a car come in for a simple brake job. Because the car had an electronic parking brake and integrated safety sensors, the computer had to be put into a specific service mode just to retract the calipers. The customer was charged 3 times the normal labor rate just for the software interaction. It is a far cry from the days when I could do a brake job in a customer's driveway with a basic socket set and a C-clamp. I once had a customer named Robert who had an old Ford truck from the early 2000s. He had over 300,000 miles on it. He brought it to me because it was running a bit rough. It turned out to be a simple spark plug and a vacuum leak. For less than $200, that truck was back to purring like a kitten. Robert told me he had been tempted by the new trucks with the massive screens and the massaging seats, but he realized that his old truck did everything he actually needed it to do. It hauled his trailer, it got him to work, and most importantly, it didn't owe anyone a dime. That is a data-driven recommendation I give to everyone. If the frame is solid and the engine is sound, keep it. The vehicle safety considerations in older cars are often used as a scare tactic to get people into new loans. While it is true that new cars have more airbags and crumple zones, a well-maintained older car with good tires and fresh brakes is still a very safe machine. I have seen people get into massive debt for safety features they don't even know how to use. I once witnessed a scam where a dealer was telling an elderly woman that her 10-year-old car was a death trap because it didn't have lane keep assist. They tried to roll her into a high-interest loan for a new model she couldn't afford. I stepped in and showed her that her current car was perfectly safe and just needed a basic alignment. The look of relief on her face was worth more than any commission. We have to look at the powertrain analysis of these new vehicles. We are seeing more plastic components in cooling systems and more complex electronics in transmissions than ever before. These parts are not designed to last 20 years. They are designed to last through the warranty period. When you keep your old car, you are often keeping a vehicle built with more metal and less complexity. I remember a mobile mechanic call where a lady's new car wouldn't start because the key fob battery was low and the car couldn't recognize the signal. She was stranded in a grocery store parking lot over a $3 battery. In her old car, she would have just turned a metal key and been on her way. These are the small frustrations that add up to a lower quality of life. The ownership cost analysis of a new car includes the massive depreciation that happens the moment you drive off the lot. You lose thousands of dollars in seconds. With an old car, that depreciation has already happened. You are driving a stable asset. I have seen people buy cars at auctions for a few $1,000s, put $1,000 into maintenance, and have a reliable vehicle for the next 5 years. That is premium automotive education right there. It is about understanding that a car is a tool, not a status symbol. When you treat it like a tool, you realize that the older, simpler version is often the more effective one for your bank account and your sanity. Maintenance strategy is the secret sauce to making an old car last forever. Most people think that once a car hits 100,000 miles, it is ready for the scrap heap. That couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, many engines from the late 90s and early 2000s are just getting started at that point. I have seen countless engines with 400,000 miles that still have perfect compression. The key is consistent, high-quality care. I once had a customer who brought me a 20-year-old Lexus. He had every single service record since the day he bought it. The car looked and drove like it was brand new. He told me he had saved enough money by not having a car payment to put both of his kids through college. That is the high-value automotive insight that people need to hear. The cost of new tech isn't just the monthly payment. It is the opportunity cost of what you could have done with that money. I have seen the dark side of the industry, specifically in subprime lending and repos. I have seen people get excited about a new car with all the bells and whistles, only to have it towed away 3 months later because they couldn't keep up with the insurance and the payment. New cars are more expensive to insure, more expensive to register, and more expensive to repair. I remember a driveway repair where I was working on an old Jeep. The owner was a young guy who was learning how to wrench on it himself. We spent the afternoon changing the oil and replacing a belt. He was so proud of himself. That kind of connection to your vehicle is lost with new tech. You can't just pop the hood on a 2025 model and understand what you are looking at. It is all plastic covers and wiring harnesses. I have seen scams where shops charge people for software updates that don't actually do anything, simply because the customer doesn't know any better. When you have an older car, you have the power of knowledge. You can find parts at a local auto store or even a junkyard. I once helped a guy find a replacement door for his truck at a pick and pull for $50. If that had been a new truck with blind spot sensors and heated glass, that door would have cost $2,000 from the dealer. The engine performance evaluation on older, naturally aspirated engines is much more straightforward. You don't have to worry about carbon buildup on intake valves that plagues many modern direct injection engines. I have seen new cars with 30,000 miles needing a walnut blasting service just to keep them running right. That is a maintenance cost that dealers rarely mention when they are selling you the car. Keeping your old car means avoiding these engineered headaches. I have spent a lot of time at auctions, and I see the cars that the big dealerships don't want. Often they are perfectly good vehicles that just need a little love. I saw a trade-in once that was rejected because it had a small oil leak. The dealer told the customer the car was junk and offered them $500 for it. I bought that car, fixed the leak for $10 in parts, and drove it for 3 years. That is the kind of thing that happens behind the scenes. They want you to think your old car is worthless so they can sell you a new one with a high-margin financing deal. Don't fall for it. Your old car is a fortress of financial stability in an uncertain world. Long-term vehicle reliability is built on a foundation of simple engineering and proactive care. As we wrap up this discussion on why you should keep your old car forever and the cost of new tech, I want to leave you with some practical wisdom. I have seen the mistakes people make when they get frustrated with a small repair and decide to trade the whole car in. They see a $500 repair bill and think, I might as well just get a new car. But they forget that the new car will cost them $500 every single month for the next 7 years. I once had a customer who was about to trade in his old SUV because it needed a new radiator. He was looking at a new model with a massive touchscreen and semi-autonomous driving features. I sat him down and did the math. The radiator was $400 installed. The new car was $45,000 plus interest. He realized that he could replace the radiator every single year for the rest of his life and still come out ahead. He kept the SUV, and 5 years later, he is still driving it. That is the kind of realistic, grounded understanding that saves fortunes. I have seen the mobile mechanic side of things where people are stranded because their car's security system decided to lock them out for no reason. I have had to tell people that their car needs to be towed to a dealer because I don't have the $10,000 proprietary computer needed to handshake a new battery to the alternator. Yes, you heard that right. Some new cars require a computer to tell the car it has a new battery. It is absurd. When you keep your old car, you are opting out of that insanity. You are choosing a vehicle that respects your time and your wallet. I have seen the scams in the financing world where they hide extra fees in the tech package or the extended electronics warranty. They know that the tech is the first thing to fail, so they sell you insurance for it at a massive markup. I have seen people pay for features they never use, like automated parking or gesture controls, simply because it was part of the bundle. In an older car, you pay for what you need. You pay for mechanical integrity. I remember a customer story about a man who bought a brand new truck, and within a week, a rock chipped the windshield right over the camera sensor for the emergency braking. The windshield replacement was $1,800 because the camera had to be recalibrated by the dealer. In his old truck, that would have been a $60 chip repair or a $200 windshield. That is the hidden cost of new tech. It makes every minor mishap a major financial event. I have lived through the transition from cars being mechanical machines to cars being rolling computers, and I can tell you that the mechanical machines are much better for the average person's long-term wealth. Use advanced automotive diagnostics to keep your current ride in top shape. Invest in high-quality fluids and parts. Treat your old car with the respect it deserves, and it will reward you with years of service. I have seen the look of pride on a person's face when they hit that 300,000-mile mark. It is a badge of honor. It shows that you are smarter than the marketing departments and the finance companies. You have mastered the art of ownership. So, before you head to the dealership to look at the latest models, take a good look at what you have in the driveway. It might just be the best financial asset you own. Keep it, fix it, and drive it forever.